But let's talk about your column this morning in The Sun, talking about an extra 400,000 people still unable to work because of COVID. Now, funnily enough, I was just talking about COVID because it's going round again. You know, I know a few people who have got it, but nobody is in any way panicking like they used to. But you're saying there's loads of people who are still off because of it.
Well, no, I'm saying they're still off because of furlough,
yeah.
which I think they probably like. The remarkable thing about Britain is that alone amongst all the top OECD countries, we are the only country where there hasn't been a move back to work post-COVID. Everywhere else is kind of back to full employment. Whereas what we've done, the numbers of people still on long-term sick are going up every year since COVID, and there has been an extra 400,000 since COVID who are now classified as long-term sick, and perhaps they are long-term sick, or perhaps it's merely the fact that that rather agreeable furlough scheme rather commended itself to them, and they think, well, I would quite like to continue in that particular matter.
Well, I've noticed that there's now a lot more people around, certainly in the centre of London, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, than on Monday and on Friday. And there's certainly an awful lot of evidence, I would suggest, that a lot of big companies have quite happily gone with this blended working, as they call it. And Susan Hall, who, believe it or not, is the Tory candidate for Mayor of London, currently hoping to stand against Sadiq Khan, has actually come out and said today that she believes that the 3-day week is now firmly in place and there's no point in resisting it.
Well, no, so it would seem. I mean, the thing about the long-term sick is that it's slightly different. Is that they're not coming on Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. They're just doing nothing whatsoever.
Right.
And, of course, as soon as you point this out, and as soon as you point out the incredible anomaly of Britain being alone in the OECD for doing this, the charities go berserk, and they say this is going to make disabled people very anxious. Given that being disabled these days includes the definition of feeling anxiety when in the workplace, which is one of my favourite.
Yes,
I can't remember the well, I can't remember any workplace I haven't felt anxious in. But there we are.
Yeah. But this is the thing. You're absolutely right, though, because we had this debate the other day when the government announced it. But, of course, by the same breath, they also announced that whatever it was that they were going to do won't happen for several years. Possibly 2025 might be the first time.
Yeah, no, that's right.
But we had loads of calls from people who are disabled in one way or another, who are receiving benefit in one way or another, and who said, we really would quite like to work, but nobody kind of helps us to do so.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, what the government's tried to do is take advantage of this move to working from home by saying, well, actually, some of these people who are signed up on long-term sick should be able to work from home. This is a brainchild of Mel Stride, who is our Works and Pensions Minister, but sounds like someone who played for Sheffield United.
He does. It's a great name, Mel Stride.
Mel Stride.
I wonder if he could have been in days gone by as sort of a band conductor of some kind.
Yeah, or a country singer.
Yeah,
Mel Stride here.
Absolutely.
But no, you're absolutely right. They've put it off, and the reason they've put it off, it won't come in until 2025, so it won't come in at all because we won't have a Tory government then.
No.
Rishi Sunak wishes to avoid being called callous and heartless by the various ghastly NGO people who always crawl out of the woodwork on occasions like this.
Yes, they really do, because we got a lot of that as well. Why are you picking on the poor and the vulnerable? You know, what about all those Tories, the people that get contracts and all? You know, there's no kind of sense out there whatsoever. You know, they think it's fine. You know, of course, all Tories are evil, and everybody who is on the sick and claiming benefits is absolutely genuine.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's always been like that.
It really is.
The same sort of stuff. It's the same sort of stuff you get from the NGOs over the migrants coming here. You know?
Yes.
No. There's women and children, and they're all potential brain surgeons.
Yes. Well, it is rather ironic, as a few people have pointed out to me today, that we're getting our knickers in a right old twist about this one character who's escaped from Wandsworth, and yet, at the same time, hundreds of people are arriving on the shores of Dover without any clue as to who they are.
Yes, that's right. And probably 10 times worse than old Danny or what it was called.
I mean, it beggars belief. Let's talk about the weather, though, because I see you haven't been able to resist writing about it. It is hilarious, isn't it, that just because we've got some hot weather, everybody's panicking. I've got a couple of messages from people who said that their schools have said, because of the hot weather, if you wish to pick up your child at lunchtime instead of waiting until 3 o'clock, because of the heat, please feel free to do so.
Well, it hasn't even been very hot.
I mean,
it's been pleasantly warm.
Well, exactly right.
I just find it incredibly depressing. On the one hand, the thing that's depressing is, you get a bit of nice weather after, 2 months of pretty much appalling weather.
Yes.
For summer. And suddenly summer makes its late appearance. And the weather forecasters pirouetting around in front of their stupid green screens start telling you not to go out because you'll shrivel up and die and the elderly will drop dead in the street. And it becomes, just tell us what the weather is, mate.
Yeah. But also the other thing they've started doing, and even newspapers have started it now, is saying it could reach the heights of
today.
The heights of, so it's not just view what a scorcher anymore. It's now what it might be. Because that was what happened all through that kind of wildfire period in the summer when Rhodes was on fire and everything else. And they were saying it's going to be 48 degrees, and then he read it and it said it could reach as high as 48 degrees. Well, if you're measuring it with a thermometer on a piece of metal which you've held right into the sun, for the last half an hour, there's a lot of scammery going on here.
There's a lot of scammery and a lot of hyperbole, and the hyperbole is based on the fact that there's a kind of almost infinite variety of records that could be broken. So the longest dry spell, the longest hot spell, a month with a hot spell, a day with a hot spell, a week with a hot, etc. So virtually every temperature which occurs in this country breaks some kind of record somewhere, because there are a kind of infinite variety of them, which is why you get this hyperbole on the BBC and why you get this hyperbole from the weather forecasters. I don't deny climate change at all. I think it's happening, and it's at least partially caused by us.
Yeah.
Not me and you, Mike, but
I'm trying. I'm doing my best, Rod. To be honest, I keep driving around and around as much as I can. I try to go the long way whenever I can.
We all do that. I like revving up at the lights.
Eating as much red meat as possible.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But what always makes me just have these quivers of doubt is the kind of overreach, the way it is hammered into your face every single time you look at the weather forecast and or read any story about the climate. That it's just over-egg in the pudding, I think.
It really is.